Peace and blessing, love and light to everyone. Unfortunately, as of today, our deputy president, also known as Mayor Eric Adams, has fully allowed Rikers Island to be side by side with ICE. And what that means is that he has got his wish. He is doing exactly what Donald Trump wanted him to do. ICE has unfettered access to Rikers Island. We'll be working with corrections and possibly PD to deport New Yorkers regardless of illegality, of immigration status, regardless of criminal status. This is a very scary moment to be in. Our office, along with other electeds, are going to do the best we can to protect New Yorkers. Unfortunately, our mayor is continuing the lies, is continuing deceiving people about what our policies allowed and didn't allow. It is disgraceful, it is embarrassing, and it is sad. It's unfortunate, but it is a reality. We're going to continue to do the best that we can to protect all New Yorkers.
Excuse my face, I've been crying for 3 days. They're sending Americans to for-profit prisons in El Salvador for money. I'm sorry. They're sending Americans to for-profit prisons in El Salvador for cash. That's the slave trade. The man that I am referencing wasn't even accused of a crime. He wasn't a prisoner. He wasn't an American prisoner. Not that that would make it any better. He was a random American man who was kidnapped, sold to a for-profit prison, meaning he's going to have to work while he's there against his will. And the United States of America received cash based on his transfer to that for-profit prison.
We originally had these cotton thin mattresses to sleep on, but somehow one of them caught a fire. I don't know how. I really don't. Nobody knows. I don't think the girls had matches. Mm-hmm. Some of us assume that the guard threw a match in on these cotton mattresses. They ended up having to open the door, pull all the mattresses out, wash the room down, and some of us were gonna run. And I remember hearing the words, "Run, nigga, run!" And then somebody said, "No, he gonna shoot you. You'll get shot. Don't run, don't run." And so we all just huddled together, and when they swept the cell out or the stockade out, we literally then, after that, had to sleep on concrete floors. The toilet filled up and was inoperable. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget the stench of how horrible it smelled. But I will tell you, the thing that got to me, girls were in there from 12 to 15 or 16. Some of them were having their menstrual cycles. We weren't given anything to aid us when that happened. They were using basically clothes off of their backs to try to get through their condition.
That's horrible.
Unsanitary conditions that, now, grant you, there were boys in the other jails that were dealing with issues. There were people in other, don't get me wrong, but for teenage girls to be put through this sort of horrific conditions.
There's a book that was written by these two white gentlemen called Without Sanctuary. If you ever get a chance to read it, it is one of the most profoundly disturbing books I've ever seen in my life. It's a pictorial history of lynchings and what they used to call nigger barbecues. I'm talking about children, women, male adults lynched. And then they used to put us alive on spits with a fire beneath it and turn us and roast us until we dehydrated. And they pick up pieces of the bodies, and hundreds of whites would be standing and taking pictures with a body piece in their hand. They have the pictures, they show the pictures in the book. And they say, just get over that? You don't get over that. You have to move on. You have to live your life. You have to grow. You have to accomplish. You cannot use excuses. But that is in spite of your history.
I've traveled the world as a black man, and I have never seen a black country where the people who live in it are foreigners that were brought there by blacks as slaves. Not one single country. Yet the black race has more countries on earth than any other country. 54 are on the continent. 13 black countries in the Caribbean. So 68 black countries. There's not a single black country where slaves were bought from outside by black people. I've traveled the world. Not a single country in the world colonized by a black country. There's nowhere you go on Mother Earth where the language they are speaking was imposed on them by force by a black country. I've traveled the world and I have never seen a religion that is imposed upon anybody anywhere in this world by a black country. There are 68 black countries in the world, the largest continent by number of countries. Not a single one of them has a nuclear weapon of mass destruction. Black countries across the world, none of them is responsible for what we call the military complex, where we are manufacturing dirty bombs and sending things into the water to pollute people. I've traveled the world and I've yet to see one product that was forced to be sold in another country by a black country. So it means the black race is the only race on earth that represents what the United Nations have been looking for the last 100 years, peace.
Most Americans were sleeping. An extraordinary moment in history was playing out in the dark of night. With no fanfare, telling only a small group of reporters, President Obama left the White House just before midnight and boarded Marine One. After a 40-minute flight, he landed at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware. A C-17 transport plane had just arrived there, bearing the remains of 18 Americans killed this week in Afghanistan. After meeting privately with their families, the president and other dignitaries boarded the plane to welcome the fallen heroes home and join a chaplain in a brief prayer. Then the president and his group left the plane and stood at attention, saluting as the flag-draped transfer cases were removed, the solemnity of the moment clearly visible on the face of the commander-in-chief.
Today, the White House social media showed off some new art. A painting of Donald Trump after an assassination attempt last year that now hangs in the grand foyer. A post from a White House advisor showed that it replaced the official portrait of President Barack Obama, which was moved to another location. The redecorating caps off a week of ridiculous moves by the Trump administration. Oh, they were just warming up. On Monday, we learned the president may be planning a military parade on June 14th to coincide with his 79th birthday. The White House denied the plans, however, but Washington Mayor Muriel Bowser confirmed discussions with administration officials. So, yeah, they're talking about it. On Tuesday, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, and this is a doozy, turned another ICE raid into a reality show. She posted another video of herself in tactical type gear carrying a rifle in Phoenix. And while President Trump capitulated on some tariffs Wednesday, the penguins of Heard Island still face a 10% tariff, y'all. And we all know negotiations with penguins can be a little bit tricky because they some devilish little birds.
Purpose that is stated for the tariffs is that the rest of the world is ripping off the United States. And the evidence that he gives for that is that the U.S. runs large trade deficits vis-a-vis the rest of the world. Let's start with some basic economics. The trade deficits have nothing to do, I will say nothing to do with the trade policies of the rest of the world. What a trade deficit means, pure and simple, is that a country is spending more than it is earning. That's all. Technically, we would say a comprehensive measure of that imbalance is the current account balance, and the U.S. runs a large current account deficit. The current account means trade in goods, trade in services of all kinds, comprehensively measured. Now, a country runs a current account deficit when it spends more than its national income, or equivalently, when it invests more than it saves. It's not about the trade policies. You can have a current account deficit in a world in which there are no trade barriers at all, no tariffs. Just country A, the United States, spends more than it produces and therefore buys more from the rest of the world than the rest of the world buys from that country. No trade policy at all involved in that.